name is Akash. As she said, I'm a comedian. I've been a comedian for a while. Very long time. My parents are very disappointed. And one of the great things about being a comedian today is that you get to travel a lot. I get to travel all through the country. I get to do tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities. Sometimes I get to go to small towns and do comedy to people. And I've realized something very, very interesting about India in all my travels. I've realized that India में sex नहीं होता है. It's not a joke. It's culture. India में sex नहीं होता है. India में बच्चे करते हैं. You've heard it, right? If you're married and you haven't had a child in the first 2 years, like my brother and Bhabhi are married, and they constantly get this pressure of just people who will come up to you at any point, anywhere, doesn't matter, funeral chal raha hai, piche body chal raha hai, and just, beta, bachche kar lo yaar. It's constant. Bachche karna is such an odd thing to say. Bachche karna. Like, Akash, Sunday ko kya kar rahe ho? Kuch nahi yaar, bachche kar rahe ho. Tum log kya kar rahe ho? If you don't know Hindi, just a quick translation. Bachche karna directly translates to doing kids. I'm just putting it out there. I've heard things like, you know, अच्छा अभी अब तुम 2 से 3 हो जाओ. We found so many creative ways to not have to say sex. That's essentially what we figured out, you know. And I realized that this culture of repression that we have amongst each other, amongst our elders, amongst just generally being open about talking about sex, and that's what I'm going to try and talk about today. And I think I've sort of found where it starts. I think it starts in school, like with the most curious part of humanity. We completely shut them off when it comes to sex. We don't like to tell them anything about anything. Oh, no. How many of you had sex education in school here? Like legitimate sex education? Exactly, right? Hardly any of us had it. The only sex ed in my school was Prasad sir saying to avoid herpes, use condom. That's it. We didn't know what herpes was, we didn't know what condom was. Still don't know what condom is. Jesus, why I have herpes? I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. I don't have herpes. Doctor said it doesn't come back. No, but the girls in my school, all they got told is don't talk to boys, you'll get pregnant. That's it. आँखों से गोली मारे क्या होता है? स्पर्म निकलता है. शादी नहीं करेगा तुमसे. It's such a culture of suppression and repression, and the only semblance of anything close to learning about sex in school is this chapter called reproduction. Now remember firstly, most misleading chapter in the world because it talks about plants, okay? You're just sitting there going, grafting kya hai? It's the most confusing thing in the world. And the chapter comes about a year after you've hit puberty. You realize it's... So by the time the chapter comes, you're excited. As a 13-year-old boy, it was the most exciting thing in my life. For the first time in my life, I opened a textbook before school started. Just to get to the... And everybody knew it. Everyone was calling each other up saying, hey, get to the room, you open the textbook, they're like, I will know everything about sex now. The sperm meets the zygote. Like, what is this? Because reproduction and sex are very different things. Sex is an amazing thing, I'm told. And yet we can't talk about this. It's just this cold clinical approach to it that I don't get. You know, you remember the diagrams we had in the chapter? The male and the female genitalia was just confusing. Because that female genitalia cross section looks like the Venus flytrap. ये तो काटेगा. Look at the male genitalia, like ये तो मेरा है ही नहीं. Someone swan, it looks like. And you would believe anything anyone would tell you. I don't know about y'all, but for 6 months of my life, I believed this sincerely. A senior came up to me and said, "Kaan mein dala to chalta hai." 6 months of my life, I walked around with that belief in my head as if it was real. You see, not talking about it can breed such dangerous ideas in people's heads. It's weird though. Like women get some amount of sex education. Like women are taught about their scene. That's how we refer to it, right? Who are we kidding? Show me one guy in this room who's not a little squeamish. The minute a girl says she's on a period, everyone's like, eh. We don't want not in on it. Because when girls, y'all had those classes, remember? In school, y'all had those classes. They took you away to those classes where you had those the PPTs and the Venus flytraps. And y'all had all this. You know what we were doing when y'all had these classes? We were playing cricket. For us, the only sex that boys need is mara to lagta hai, bas chalo. That's it. There's no provision. There is no. You know what we did as boys? Because I was lucky enough to be from the internet generation, I had pornography. Most confusing thing in the world. Because when you're 13 and you watch porn for the first time, your thought is not, wow. Your thought is, mera kitna chota hai. Koi kuch nahi kar. Have you seen those? Gargantuan. Huge. कौन से घोड़े को मारा तुमने? It's not a penis, it's a bitch. इसपे cricket खेलना चाहिए. Like it's huge. It's unrealistic expectations. That's what it. And the thing is, because we don't like talking about sex, right? We don't like talking about just the opposite gender in general. Because our sexual organs are what define us to an extent. Not to say they're the only things that define us, but I mean they're very there. Like, you can't just ignore a penis. It's there. Because these things are, they define us to an extent. Because we don't talk about sex, we don't talk about the opposite gender. There's no concept of gender sensitization in our country. Like we just, unko unka karne do. There's always that sense of like slight icky. I don't know if I want to. And it breeds itself. It creates a negative feedback loop, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And here's the weird thing, right? I'm assuming most of the people here are like below 30, right? Anyone over 30 who's not a speaker? You're like, here, you made it! You made somehow! That's, thank you. But if, the reason I talk about like the younger generations, because Sir earlier was also saying, 91, new economic policy came to be. We are the new India. We're more open, we're more confident, we're more adept at understanding things. This is probably the most sexually liberated generation there is. Like people from maybe 18 to 25 right now, incredibly liberated, incredibly okay. But for some reason, we're still not okay with certain kinds of sex. Like we're not okay with our parents having sex. Right? See how that uncoming. Why is it such every time I talk to someone from my generation about their parents having sex, their reaction is always, yeah, my parents had sex once. They had me. And then they never had sex again. Hey, chota mein post mein tera kya ho raha hai? We were just so uncomfortable at this idea. I am completely comfortable with the fact that my parents have sex. I think it's, it's great, dude. Why would you not? But we carry around these things in our heads. We carry around these little filters in our heads. Like we don't talk about it to certain people. Like we still attach to a great extent. We still attach how much someone talks about the sex to how their moral values are for some reason. Do you notice we still do that? Like kuch bhi bolo. I know guys who are like really nice guys, like really smart guys who've been to like Berkeley and to Cambridge, but they're like, yeah, but she sleeps around. I don't know if she's a nice person. Doesn't make sense. We need to break that apart, and we're the ones who have to do it. Like this is the generation that's most receptive to change. If we don't take that call, the kids after us are going to be even worse than us. So that's what I try to do. The thing I've realized about any uncomfortable topic is that if you talk about it and laugh about it, it suddenly becomes okay. Now I do this. Small aside, I used to do this bit on suicide. I talk about suicide, about wanting to kill yourself. And I remember doing a show, and I'd been doing the joke for about 6 months, and people had come up to me, and a lot of people said, "Oh, you're trivializing the issue. It's insensitive." But 6 months into it, somebody came up to me one day and said, "Hey man, I tried to kill myself 3 years ago. This is the first time I've laughed about it." See how powerful laughter can be. Just breaks everything apart. The room gets smaller, the distance is shortened. Audiences breathe as one, just for that moment. And if I can get everybody to laugh as "Kaun se ghode ko mara tumne," I feel like in my head I'm breaking down some barrier. Maybe somewhere somebody is gonna say, yeah, you know what, this is not so bad. I can talk about this. I can talk about my preferences. I can talk about what I feel and what I've seen and what I would like to experience. It's all just an attempt. I'll leave you with this story, okay? There's this guy called Sukrit Nagraj. So Sukrit Nagraj is a photographer who doesn't have a finger. I don't know why the finger is important, but he doesn't have it. It's not even a relevant finger. It's a pinky. When was the last time you used your pinky for something? What, your English having tea? That's no other use. The pinky is pointless. Let's not pretend. But he's a photographer. And the thing with photographs is there are certain photographs I don't like. Now, for most of my life, I've hated photographs of myself. Hated them. Absolutely hate them. Cannot stand them. Do not like looking at myself at all. Zero. Okay? Everything changes the day Sukrit Nagaraj starts taking pictures of me. Suddenly, for the first time in my life, I stared at a photograph of myself for more than 30 seconds and went, you know, looks halfway decent. And it says something about art, you know. I mean, good art is that which makes you feel something. But one of the other things that makes good art is that great art and good art, it can take something unpalatable, uncomfortable, and bring it in a new light. That's what I'm trying to do with my comedy. If I can make you laugh at the most uncomfortable thing that you've thought in your head, then that's my attempt at getting you out of your head. Just to live a little, just to let out a little. So before I go, I'd just like to say, talk about sex, no? Just talk about it, no? Like today, just call your best friend, no? Tell him that dream you had. Tell him, it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to laugh about it. It's like weird things happen during sex, guys. You've heard the noises. There are noises and there are laughs and there are feelings and you are clumsy and you fall over and all sorts of things happen and it's all okay to talk about. So just today, for my sake and because you laughed so much, just go home, tell somebody something, anything. Just talk about sex. That's it from me. Thank you so much.